Welcome to the Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva, and today we're going to get some insight into soccer at the college level. My guest today is Allie Nick. She is the women's soccer coach at NJIT, and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so usually I start my guests where they went to college. So where'd you go to school?
I went to LaSalle University in Philadelphia.
Ah, fantastic. So let's just go back in time before we get into what you actually do today. When did it all begin for you to think about going to college? Was it freshman year of high school, senior year? When did it all start for you?
I think it was always a goal of mine even growing up. I was fortunate to watch the 99ers for the U.S. Women's National Team. I grew up through that era. So, I had Mia Hamm all over, Brenda Chastain, all of them, the pillows. So I think at a young age, it really did start inspiring of this is what I want to keep doing. I want to keep playing. And then when I got into high school, I think it became a reality, right, of seeing kind of the teams I was making and different things and the impact I was having on the field. And I knew that was a goal of mine to play Division I. And I wanted to see, right, if that was possible. So luckily I had coaches, like my high school coach, who helped out in the process because this was before the internet was so popular that everyone could easily find things.
Sure.
So you kind of had to do it on your own back then. So I had no idea the level or anything like that. So like I said, luckily worked out. I had people that helped guide me to do that. And I knew I wanted to kind of see how far I could go with it because I'm a very competitive person.
Yeah.
So I think that competitiveness and the love for it, I was like, I want to keep doing this. I don't know life without it.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up going to college for it.
So now you go to LaSalle. What's it like? What is the soccer team like? What is the school like? Give us a sense of what it's like.
Yeah, absolutely. When I went on my recruiting visit there, it was definitely a big selling point was the coaching staff because they were very involved with the players. You saw them engage with them at practice, at the training, and that's a lot of the club coaches that I had and high school coaches growing up at Washington Township. It was Shane Snyder. And he was very involved and energetic and, it made his passion project onto you, and I saw that in the LaSalle coaches. So that was a big part of why I really liked being there. When I stepped on, obviously, it's in kind of northwest Philadelphia, so definitely different environment, but the campus is great. So when I got there, the team was kind of building then, and Paul Royal and the staff was building the program then. So it was kind of new life and energy that we got in and brought it. So it was fun to be a part of that. My teammates are still my best friends, we hang out, and they were bridesmaids in the wedding. So I think that process and that kind of friendship that you build in relationships is more than anything you could do on the field.
Sure.
But then on the field, it was definitely eye-opening. The speed of play was faster. You're playing against girls that are 4 years older than you. So you have to adapt to it. And I think my kind of path through growing up, I've always had to prove myself because I was never on these elite club teams. I stayed on my town team at the time, So I always had to prove myself. So coming to college, it was no different. I had that mindset. And my parents always had that mindset of just work for what you want. So I did that, and I think I just kept finding new levels, and it was so exciting to me to do that.
Fantastic. So now you graduate from college. How does one go from graduating from college to becoming the head coach at NJIT?
It did not happen overnight. Probably quicker than some people's paths. But yeah, so afterwards, graduating, I really didn't know what I wanted to get into. I wanted to do kind of marketing aspect of it. Did I want to get into college coaching? I had an assistant at the time who was kind of pushing that as well. So I was looking at grad assistant positions, but there wasn't a ton of them at the time, and that's kind of the step you had to take to get in. So I got a marketing job in Philadelphia right afterwards, and I was doing that, and I was volunteering at LaSalle as well during that time. So I would be in and out when I could and kind of getting a taste of it. And when the position opened, an assistant position there at LaSalle, it was something that I wanted to do. I had passion for it. I love the impact that my coaches had on me and to keep that. I love the game. So yeah, I was hired as a second assistant at LaSalle then. So that's how I got in, and we had a storybook year that year. The program was on the rise. Became first assistant, and I think I was at LaSalle for 5 or 6 seasons, something like that, and we were a top 25 program.
Wow.
And then the NJIT opportunity opened up and the position, and I applied for it because I think I was ready to take that next step. You know, I had, luckily, my mentor Paul Royal had given me a lot of responsibility at LaSalle, so I was ready for that next step at NJIT. And the program needed rebuilding there, and it was something that I wanted to do, I wanted to take on. I was born in Jersey, raised in Jersey, so it was something, even though it's a whole different part of the state, right? It's North Jersey, I was raised in South Jersey. But I think there's something about this area, you know, and the soccer in this area, and I know it and I get it, and from a recruiting aspect. So that's kind of where we started from doing that. But yeah, and then I'm going on my 8th season now at NJIT as the head coach.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Great. So now let's get into NJIT and women's soccer there. So as a student athlete, what are you looking for in a student athlete to come to NJIT?
Yes, I think kind of what sets us apart is we have a balance of academics and the soccer side of things. So we can't bring in a student that is, say, school isn't important to them because they're going to struggle in the classroom. But we want players who are hardworking and want that. And maybe I'm projecting onto myself of the kids that we find, but the ones that want to kind of push the envelope and see how much they can do. Yeah. And they love being pushed that. They do really well for us. So I say for us, it's the academic side of they have to value that education. You know, they got to do well in class in their high school classes. So it starts from that. As much as, you know, parents always told you, my parents did growing up, that grades are going to help you, and they really do, right? Like we see it firsthand of the academic, the merit scholarships that students get because of the grades they're getting in high school, so it affords them more opportunity. And for us, it affords us to make our scholarships go further, right? Because we can offer academic money to them as well then. So I do think they have to value that side of it. Coming from the soccer side of it, playing at, you know, an elite level, right, of pushing themselves, getting themselves exposed and in front of us, whether it's on our tournaments, recruiting tournaments that we are doing or going. We have ID clinics that are great, and probably we get at least 1 to 2 players from our ID clinics, each one that we run, because we can sit there face to face with them. They get a relationship with us. We can see them in our environment of training. So I think those are really valuable for us as well. But yeah, I think the hardworking side is one of our core values of the program. Is we want players that when the going gets tough, they're going to get going also.
So now, how do you find your players? Do you go to a lot of high school games? Do you go to a lot of tournament games? Is it the summertime where you're picking up majority of the people? How do you find these kids?
Safety above all. No, but I think it's different, obviously, the sport, but for us in women's soccer, like high school is not a heavily recruited side of where people go. So for us, it's not like we'll identify a new player from high school or find them. We're not going to all the games. We'll keep tabs on players that we have seen throughout the recruiting process. We definitely read, you know, up on kids that are doing really well, right? And that we know some of the schools that do well, or just kind of their names stick out. And my staff and I will go to some of the games throughout it when we can, which is the benefit of we train early in the morning for us, so we can get to those 4 o'clock games. So here and there, I'd say probably 1 to 2 a week we try to hit high school games in the area because we are local, and about half of our roster is from New Jersey. The other half is from all over the United States and the world. So yeah, we have internationals from Portugal, Canada as well. So coming in, yeah, so we have kind of that mix. So we do try and hit, you know, the tri-state area when we can. But then, yeah, so that's the high school side of it. And that's to see them in a different environment because a lot of them have different roles with their high school teams, different positions maybe. And then, but it is after our season is when the heavy recruiting aspect and sides really starts. So we'll go to tournaments all over, all different leagues too. I mean, there's a bunch of leagues for women's soccer, like ECNL, GA, National League. We'll hit all that for us because we want the right players for our program. So we don't just narrow down on one of the leagues and one of the tournaments that we go to. So we'll do that throughout the year, and we'll start having kids come in for their visits. And a lot of, I'd say, our commitments happen probably right in the beginning of the new year, like in the January, maybe December, and we'll start in that class. And then we'll wrap up the class by the end of the spring, and that's when they're juniors in high school for the most part. And then we'll have them come in the senior year together, that class. So like our 2024 recruits are all texting each other already. So it's nice because then they build that. They're already getting a head start. When they play each other or at the same tournaments, they can see each other. So it's great to kind of build that. That's the benefit of the early recruiting for women's soccer. But the tough thing is we are recruiting early in our sport. So I think a lot of players jump onto it quick and they think, oh, my junior year. So we can talk to them June 15th of their junior year. I think people see that date and they think they have to commit, or people on their team start committing and they jump, and it's not the right fit, you know? It's just maybe what's in front of them. And that's why the transfer is really high right now. So the transfer portal, we have it for women's soccer. We'll look at it. We have had transfers in. We have success with a lot of transfers. We're really particular with them, though, because we want it to be the right fit for us. You know, so I think we'll do a little bit of everything throughout the entire year. It never stops. But like I said, for us, it's having that conversation. Not a lot of people know about NJIT, even like local people. Yeah. So for us, it's getting on campus, seeing how close we are to New York City, seeing we have a campus feel to it. And everything that the majors that we had to offer were not just STEM. Yes, it's one of our strongest as our sciences and engineering, but the university does an amazing job, even like our business majors, of adding technology into it. You know, and they come out with great degrees, great jobs. Our seniors last year, whether if they went to post-grad, they all were accepted, or we had a bunch of them with their job offers their spring of their senior year, if not before. Wow. You know, so I think the success of what NJIT prepares you for is great, and more people are seeing that, and that's why I think this fall we have our highest freshman enrollment. So the university is growing, which is amazing to see, and it's a great time to be there. So
now, give a sense of what the student athlete is going to see when they first come on campus. When do they start? Do they come in July, August? Give me a whole year's worth of what the freshman that's coming into NJIT.
Yeah, so we actually start July 31st this year. So for us, women in our sport, we're usually in the beginning of August when the incoming players start. Our players go home in the summer, so they don't stay. Some of them do if they're doing classes or internships, but we give them those offers, go out, go home, right? It's your time to decompress a little bit. So we don't keep them on there, but they'll come back in preseason. So that's what starts July 31st. So our freshmen are getting ready. Obviously the nerves are starting to go now that right now we're a week out from that. But the benefit we have is classes start Labor Day. So we're with them a month without classes, our whole team. So it's great. We come in, we train, whether we're doing 2 sessions or 1 session a day. We'll do film review. So they're basically doing a crash course of what our program entails as freshmen, you know, and getting acclimated with everything. We'll do a lot of team bonding for us. That's really important. So our team chemistry is phenomenal and really important to our program. Like in the past, last year we went up to a place called Stony Acres in the Poconos. We went up to Canada 1 year, Golden Goal. This year we'll actually go out to California and play 2 games in the middle of August before classes start. So those relationships they get and bonds, we'll do different things. We did laser tag last year and all different things. We'll do a beach day. So the freshmen get to see that and be a part of it outside of the field, and it gives them that time to be making relationships. And obviously the upperclassmen too can grow that. So yes, it's hard work on the field, but they get to enjoy it as well.
And then so the fall season then starts after that?
Yeah, so then our fall season starts. And we'll play our season then, and we basically wrap up in November. And classes start after Labor Day also. So
do they train then during the Christmas season and then come back?
No, so they go break. So in December is our finals, and that's the fall semester ends then. And we have our winter break that they'll go home for winter break. And then we come back mid-January for us, and that starts our spring season. So in our spring season, we go like 5 days a week. So we're like Monday through Friday. Division I, you're allowed 5 events, it's called. So we'll play like 5 games. They don't count towards anything, but you're playing towards that. So that's a big development period, our spring season. And then spring ends and the summer starts. And like I said, then they go home for that too.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So one of the last things before we get to the end, people always ask about monies at the college level. Everything is expensive these days. So what does NJIT have that's available other than, is it scholarships and merit money? Is that what they're looking at?
Yeah, so because we're Division I, we have athletic scholarships that we can offer. Every sport's different, every program, every school's different of what they can offer for athletic scholarships. But we do. We also have the academic, which is called like merit scholarships. So that's based off of their grades that they get. We can stack them together, luckily, so you can get academic and you can get athletic to make a good package. We also have something called the Honors College, so the higher you get on your SAT or ACT, you can qualify for the Honors College and be admitted, and that comes with a significant amount of academic money. So it kind of is a scale of where you can qualify for. And then there's obviously the small scholarships throughout that can get offered. So even in people's high schools, if they're offered in their towns, I think NJIT and like the financial aid has options outside of, you know, academic that they can qualify as well. So there's a lot of opportunities that they look for. They can kind of bring all of that with them.
Great. Well, we're coming to the end of our show, and usually I ask my guests, what advice do you want to give to the parents that are watching this and the students? What advice do you want to give them that talk about NJIT?
Yeah. Well, I think it's show your kids different places, right? I think you have to guide them. We don't want you to hold their hand because, yes, you have to help them through it, but kind of start teaching them of what's out there for them in their high school. You know, if you're going by a campus, it might not be something, but you might be seeing an urban, a rural, different types. And I always say that because you know your kids, but they might fall in love with something that you didn't know. And we see that a lot of kids transferring because it wasn't the right environment for them. So expose them to tons of environments throughout the high school, not just names you know, names you don't know. And I think that's what's really important as well, because then they're going to have a better feel of there's a place for everybody out there, right? There's so many schools and opportunities. But I think people narrow down so early that they don't see all these other options that are out there. So that's just my big advice as parents is start taking them. If you go on vacation down in, say, North Carolina, stop by a school while you're down there, right? Just get them to start thinking about the process at a young age. Doesn't mean you have to commit, but it starts the ball rolling.
Great. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you've been watching The Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva. Until next time.